The fishing boat tips sideways, and you grab the rail with both hands. Salt water hits your face. Somewhere behind you, your father is screaming at the sky, at the sea, at nothing. The thing that just surfaced beside the boat is bigger than your house. It doesn't attack. It doesn't have to. It just looks at you, and you understand for the first time what kind of world you were born into. You are 6 years old. You will not forget this. This is not a world with safety nets. This is a world built on tears, and you were dropped into the bottom one, without being asked. You live in a village that doesn't appear on any map worth owning. There is no government here that matters. The Marines pass through quite twice a year, mostly to collect a tax nobody can really afford. Then leave before the rainy season. Pirates come more often. Some are kind, most are not. You learn early which kind is approaching by how the adults move. Fast and quiet means run, slow and resigned means hide whatever's valuable and pray. You learn the real rule of this tier fast. Nobody is coming to save you. Strength decides everything down here. Not money, not titles. A man with a sword and the will to use it outranks a mayor. You watch a local fisherman lose his boat, his catch, and 2 fingers in the same afternoon because he argued with the wrong crew over the price of fish. Nobody helped him. Nobody could. You start training. Not because you dream of adventure. The stories of pirate kings and marine heroes feel like fairy tales told by people who've never had a blade against their throat. You train because the alternative is being the next person who loses something they can't get back. By 16, you can handle a knife. By 18, something heavier. You tell yourself this is just self-defense. That's the first lie you'll tell yourself, but it won't be the last. Level 2, the hired hand. You leave the village at 19 because staying means dying slow. The first crew that takes you isn't glamorous. No flag with a skull worth fearing, no bounty, no name anyone's heard. You're muscle. You load cargo, you stand watch, you fight when told to fight, and you take a cut that's barely worth counting, maybe 8,000 berries after a job. Split 6 ways, minus what the captain keeps for expenses. You learn the second rule here. Loyalty is currency, but it's a currency that only the person above you gets to spend. You watch crewmates vanish. Sometimes it's the Marines. Sometimes it's a rival crew. Sometimes it's the captain himself, settling a dispute permanently rather than letting it fester. Nobody asks questions out loud. You learn to read the silence instead. The first time you really hurt someone, not in self-defense, but because the job required it, you expect to feel something. You don't. Not the way you thought you would. There's a brief, cold quiet where guilt should be, and then it passes. And you realize that's the moment you stopped being the kid on the fishing boat. You start sleeping better after jobs, not worse. That should scare you. It doesn't, not yet. Level 3, the name, by your mid-20s. People start saying your name before they say your crew's. This is dangerous and it is everything. A name means a bounty, and a bounty means the Marines have decided you're worth tracking. Your first poster lists you at 6,000 berries. It's an insult to some and a death sentence to others, high enough to attract bounty hunters, low enough that nobody respects it yet. You learn the rule of reputation. It is built slower than power and lost faster than both. You start choosing fights you can win in front of witnesses. Not because you're a coward, but because perception is armor now. A crew that hears you cut down a Marine lieutenant without losing a man thinks twice before testing you. A crew that hears you lost a fight, even a fair one, smells blood. You take your first real command, 12 men, 1 ship, a route through contested water that 3 other crews want. You make a call that gets 2 of your men killed and saves the other 10. You don't cry over it. You catalog it. Lesson learned, route adjusted, never make that call again, somewhere in here. You stop thinking of yourself as someone who fights to survive. You start thinking of yourself as someone who wins. Level 4. The Captain Acros, your own flag goes up at 28. This is competence made visible. You have a ship, a crew of 40, supply lines, a navigator who actually knows the currents instead of guessing, and a bounty that's crossed 40,000 berries. Marine bases mark your last known position. Other captains either want an alliance or want you gone. There's rarely a middle option. The rule here is the one that breaks the most captains. Command is not freedom, it's debt. Every man on your ship is a liability and an asset at once. Feed them, or they leave. Win for them, or they leave louder, sometimes with a knife in your back on the way out. You start making decisions based on what the crew can stomach, not just what's tactically correct. A captain who only thinks about strategy loses his ship to mutiny long before he loses it to the Marines. You take an island by force for the first time, not a village raid, an actual port town with its own small economy. You tell yourself it's about the resources, the fuel, the leverage. It is. It's also about the message. This water belongs to you now. The townspeople don't get a vote in that. You watch yourself do this and feel almost nothing. The kid who watched his father scream at the sea is still in there somewhere, but he's quiet now. He doesn't get to make decisions anymore.
Level 5. The threat. Your bounty crosses 150,000.
The Marines stop sending lieutenants and start sending captains with real resources behind them. This is the level where the world starts treating you like weather. Something to be planned around, not negotiated with. Towns close their ports before you arrive. Other crews reroute. The Marines start a file with your name on it that gets updated by people several ranks above the ones who used to chase you. The rule here, the bigger you get, the fewer people are honest with you. Everyone around you starts managing you instead of talking to you. Your first mate softens bad news before he gives it. New recruits perform loyalty instead of feeling it, hoping proximity to your name will protect them. You can't tell anymore who actually respects you and who's just afraid of what happens if they don't. You survive your first real assassination attempt. A former crewmate, paid by a rival. Poison in a bottle of liquor you almost didn't open. You don't feel betrayed so much as unsurprised. This is what the rule of fear costs. Everyone close to you is a potential blade, and you start sleeping with one eye open, permanently powered. You're starting to understand, doesn't buy safety. It just changes what's trying to kill you. Level 6, the power. By your late 30s, you're not just a captain. You're an institution. Your bounty sits north of 400 million thousand. You control territory, not just a crew, islands that pay you for protection, smaller pirate groups that operate under your name for a cut, information networks that tell you what the Marines are planning before the Marines finish planning it. Other major powers know your name without needing the poster. The rule at this level, you no longer answer to laws, you negotiate around them. You meet with people who used to be untouchable to you. Marine officials who'll quietly look the other way for the right price. Government brokers who trade information instead of loyalty. Other captains at your tier who treat alliances like contracts written in blood instead of ink. Everything is leverage. Everything is a trade. You also learn what it costs. An old ally crosses you, and you make an example of him in front of 200 witnesses, not out of rage, but because mercy at this level reads as weakness, and weakness here gets you replaced. You do it cleanly, efficiently, and you go back to your cabin afterward and pour a drink, and feel the silence in your chest where something used to live. You don't recognize the man in the mirror as the boy from the fishing village anymore. You're not sure when that happened. You're not sure you'd want it back even if you could find it. Level 7, the Empire. Your name is now spoken in rooms you'll never enter, government meetings, Marine headquarters. The private conversations of other Titans who measure their own power against yours. You command a fleet, not a ship. Dozens of vessels, thousands of men and women who fight under your banner without ever having met you personally. Your bounty isn't really a number anymore. It's a statement, somewhere past 800,000, a figure designed less to price you and more to warn people away. The rule at this level, you stop having enemies and start having rivals. And the difference matters. Enemies want you dead. Rivals want what you have, which means they need the system you're both part of to keep existing. You find yourself in strange, careful peace with people who would have killed you a decade ago. Because mutual destruction serves nobody at this altitude. You also stop trusting almost everyone. Your inner circle shrinks to a handful of people who've been with you since before the fame, the rest kept at arm's length. Useful but never fully believed. You hear, secondhand, that recruits joining your crew now don't know your face. They know your legend, your flag, your reputation. You are no longer a person to them. You're an idea they're willing to die defending, and you're not sure that's better. Late at night, on the rare occasions you're alone, you think about the fishing boat, the thing in the water that looked at you and didn't bother attacking. You understand now why it didn't. You were never worth its time. You wonder, distantly, if you've become something just as indifferent. Level 8. The legend there is no level above this one. There's only the question of what you do with it. Your name doesn't need a bounty board anymore. People have stopped looking you up because everyone already knows. Marines whisper about you in briefings the way recruits whisper about ghosts. Entire governments have contingency plans that exist solely because you're alive and might someday decide to act. You don't fight much anymore. You don't have to. Conflict at your tier is mostly theoretical. Two forces capable of reshaping the map, choosing, almost always, not to. The few times you do draw a weapon, it ends fast, and it ends in a way that gets written into history books within a year. The rule at this level, the only one that matters anymore, nobody tells you the truth, and you have made your peace with that. Your crew is enormous, and yet you can count on one hand the number of people who'd tell you no to your face. Your old first mate, the one who used to soften bad news, is dead now, natural causes, which feels like a small mercy in a life that hasn't offered many. The rest are legacy, myth, machinery that runs because you built it to run, not because anyone still remembers why. You sit on the deck some nights, and you think about the boy on the fishing boat, the one who grabbed the rail and watched his father scream at an indifferent sea. You think about how certain he was. Back then, that someone with enough power would never have to be afraid again. You were wrong. You're just afraid of different things now. Quieter things. The fear of irrelevance. The fear that everything you built collapses the day you're gone. Because none of it was ever really stable. It was just you, standing at the center of it, refusing to fall. This is what the top costs. Not blood, not really. Blood was a tier 2 problem. The top costs witnesses. People who knew you before the myth did. By level 8, there usually aren't any left. You are, by any measure that matters in this world, free. You have never felt less like it. Somewhere on a boat too small for the ocean it's sailing. A kid grips the rail with both hands. Something massive surfaces nearby and looks at him, and doesn't bother attacking. He thinks this is the worst moment of his life. He thinks somehow that the world gets fairer from here. He doesn't know what the levels cost, but he will.